Joe.
Hi, I'm Danny, and we're back with Daniel Belaz from Connecting Roma. Hi, Daniel.
Hi there, guys. You all right?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How have you been doing?
Not bad at all, thank you. Not bad.
Great. Good to have you back with us. Do you want to give us a quick update about what you've been up to since we last saw you?
Yes, a lot going on. Of course, we still are in the pandemic. And at the same time, as you guys know, Connecting Roma deals with a particular Roma community that we deal with. And there's still the Brexit process, which is pretty much affecting the Roma community. And the EU settlements coming to an end, as we discussed before. We're now 2 months away from that. So quite a lot going on with these two aspects, and at the same time dealing with everything else, and that's of course arising for the people.
Is the main thing that you're dealing with right now then the settlement scheme still? People.
So I think certainly the panics in the community. There's still we're talking about 6,000 people. This is a rough estimate in Bradford. These numbers have come out, so we're talking about 6,000 people still without the EU settlement scheme, still without their identification to be able to start the application. Or even again having the funds to be able to start any of the process, and we're 2 months away. Yet we're in the pandemic. We've just had a map produced by the government to show us how we're going to get out of the pandemic and be able to strive as a community as a whole, in the country, to be able to come out and economically again strive as a country and as people. Yet Roma people can't actually focus on this particular map because they have to focus on this EU settlement scheme, making sure that their residency is here, making sure that they're able to carry on working, carry on being settled, making sure their children can access NHS and education and so on. So as an organization, we're kind of in the midst of all of this. Our services are still running. Interpreting, of course, is very valuable, as the language barrier is very much there. Not only what we have found and now what is very much evident, that this language barrier, as you would have normally with an emerging community, it's not only an issue of where you just get an interpreter, but now because a Roma could be from is from another European given country, for example, Czech, Slovak, they might not get a Roma interpreter, but a Czech, Slovak speaker. And actually we now seen a lot of misrepresentation on that side, where the Roma gets portrayed in a certain way to the professional, making it more difficult to work with such cases or with the Roma people. So I think still a lot of work on our side, and with the interpreting, as we are trying to employ and as many Roma interpreters as we can, and get this department to be basically utilized by cities across Yorkshire and councils across Yorkshire, so we can fill this gap. So we have, so families, individuals, Roma speakers and professionals that are working with Roma people are able to have the interpreter able to relay information that they need, which I think is very valuable given the fact that we've got this pandemic, we've got this Brexit process, there's professionals trying to help from different sides, different organizations are getting involved, yet potentially, their information is not going across the way that it should be. So I think Again, as an organisation, we've got the other services running. We've got the advocacy service, which is still used, by especially by the Bradford Council. And again, this advocacy service is a Roma work outreach service where we take on cases, work with children's social care and throughout the different plans. We've got the COVID-19 helpline. So this is where you can literally give us a call and we, give you up-to-date information. We can go through, for example, how to self-test yourself, or we can give you a call through, say, WhatsApp and show you how to do it, for example. We're also now giving information about the vaccine, so the Roma community can make an informative decision about taking up the vaccine. So this is what we're kind of dealing with at this moment of time, trying to roll out, trying to set up some vaccine clinics through different organizations and different GPs, and hopefully be able to promote these clinics where, Roma people can come in, or European people can come in and have not just the vaccine, but actually have that chat about it with a health professional.
And someone who speaks the language.
Yes, and somebody that speaks the language. Now, so this is kind of what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, but we are finding that the very much limited by capacity, by funding especially. And we found that the services that are running are, of course, bringing in the income for, our organization to be able to exist and still be, of course, a micro company. And I found this a problem now because these services are just maintaining that level. And it's quite difficult as a micro company and as an organization, even though we are seen as a very valuable resource, very valuable organization, and are doing some amazing work, it's still very hard to reach out to different councils to secure an interpreter through our organization. So it's, some professionals are finding it difficult to be able to get our interpreters because, for example, the council might have a contract in place with another agency, to provide interpreters, yet that agency doesn't provide Roma interpreters. So
they're missing out on quite a lot of things that you could offer them.
Yes, and it's now creating a problem as we have this, as we have the people that are telling us, we need somebody that speaks our language. A social worker comes to my house, I don't understand them, and I need one of your interpreters. I know that another family had you before, and maybe they can't get us. So it's creating a problem within the community as well at the same time. And yeah, I just think at this moment coming out the financial year, we're very happy that we're in the position to be help out during the pandemic, have the COVID-19 helpline, be able to be in the community, providing information and helping during the pandemic. But for example, the Brexit process, we can't do nothing because we can only take calls and listen to people, and at this stage refer them to other organizations which we know have been funded from the beginning. When the Brexit process came, unfortunately, we came kind of mid through that as we opened as an organization in 2019. This is causing now issues as the government or Home Office, should I say, will only fund these initial organizations that's been funded. Yeah, I just mentioned, well, I've mentioned in interview 6,000 people are without in Bradford, but we've got 9 organizations in Bradford doing these EU settlement schemes. So I think, it almost looks like they don't have the engagement of the Roma community. And we feel, well, I think evidently we do. And again, we still find it difficult to be able to get the funding to be able to help the people. So I think that's what we're dealing with mainly at this point.
And on the funding front, do any of the like interpreting agencies, do any of them like subcontract to you?
So where the way that we set up the interpreting is we're not an interpreting organization or an agency. I like to call it an interpreting department because we already have quite a lot in terms of how we support the community, and we knew that obviously that language barrier is a priority, as I mentioned, but it also is a big field. And as a micro company, we knew that we won't be able to go to a council and say, we've got Roma interpreters, would you like to use us? As I mentioned with these issues with other contracts, which I mention, I do feel like maybe that's almost should be updated now, because if you know that if you're giving a contract to one particular agency, knowing that there's hundreds of others doing exactly the same thing, you're actually restricting your professionals to a resource and tools that they might need at some particular point, as they can only use and are restricted to use one agency. So I think again, communication is key, and I'm hoping that we get through to the right people to be able to you know, get the message across of what kind of what we're dealing with. But sorry, I've gone off your point because I really wanted to mention that. What was the question again?
It was, do any of the interpreting agencies, do any of them like subcontract you? Like if they've got a Roma person, will they come to you and say, you're the fluent Roma speakers, will you come interpret for us and we'll pay you some of the money or all of the money, or I don't know exactly how it works.
Yeah. So actually with the point that I've mentioned, because we understood that in the beginning, we set this up for interpreting agencies to be able to use us, because we knew that
was the idea,
the interpreting agencies are actually struggling to provide Roma interpreters. We thought that if we create the pool of Roma interpreters within this department, within our department, the interpreting agencies that are you know, already have these relationships within these councils, within these organizations that are needing Roma speakers, are able to come to us and we're able to provide. And, you know, I've been an interpreter for the past 11 years, and I have created some really good relationship with some of the agencies that I work through. And, you know, I've picked one particular one, which I started with from the beginning, who is Oliver Grange. And, you know, that's the agency that understood you know, what we were trying to create, what kind of a structure we've got, and was willing to create a partnership. So at this stage, we only offer our interpreting services and translating services through one agency, but I am hoping to replicate that for others. And again, we are open for others, but finding it very difficult to be able to get to the right person. So the words that are coming out of our mouth almost is making sense, and it's going into to where it needs to be, because a lot of the times you don't get to them people. And again, that's exactly what we're dealing with. You know, we come out of the new financial year, and I just felt like, okay, I don't no longer want to be a micro company, and I can certainly see where the issues are, and that it's going to be a struggle to move up a level.
Do you feel that there's almost like a vicious cycle that they don't want to give you big funding because you're a micro company, but then you can't grow the company because you can't get the big funding? So it's almost like there's no way out of this sort of loop where you can't grow and develop the way you want to and expand your services like you want.
I think yes, exactly. I mean, for example, say council gets funded for a particular project. Let's use the pandemic, right? So the government wants to reach a particular vulnerable community. They fund the council to be able to do this work. Council then looks for an organization to be able to do this work, then that organization that gets the funding looks for other organizations to do the work.
So, yeah, it's a big chain of hand-me-downs almost. Yeah, and it.
So the micro company gets the micro funding.
Yeah. Maybe it's into
point.
political territory here again, but maybe cut out some of those in-between layers and let's just get the funding to the people who are actually doing the work. Maybe that would work better. I don't know.
Yes, I think again, the pandemic helped quite a lot, and however, it also put us in a different position. And as I mentioned, we're very happy to be able to help during the pandemic. However, we of course had the time taken off us to be able to expand in some of these services, such as the interpreting and the Roma work service. So, definitely this could be replicated in Leeds, Wakefield, Huddersfield, Sheffield, and Rotherham, which is very much needed and very much dear to us, and we really want to reach out. Roma people are reaching out nationally. They're coming out from around the UK. We get messages, we get calls from around the UK. We like to think of ourselves as a Yorkshire-based company, but it really seems like we are a Bradford and surrounding areas at this point.
Is that the people reaching out to you from elsewhere in the UK? Is that people who've heard about you through other people, or have they just really sort of, they can't find anyone else near them?
I think we've been using our social media, so we've been using Facebook quite a lot to share what we are doing. The events that we're getting involved in, and projects, and the work that we're doing, and a lot of the pandemic videos were also put out, a lot of live videos were put out, so a lot of interactive videos were put out, and we've got some really good viewings, some good response, some negative response, shall we say, but quite a lot of views, I think, abroad. And again, it's not just people nationally, I say internationally. We have people from Czech, we've got people from Poland, Romania, almost like we're there. It's not like they're reaching out to us for help. So yeah, I think social media definitely gained us some popularity and has spread the word.
Is the negative comments that you're getting, is that people trying to give you feedback, or is it people just being abusive?
It's social media abuse, yeah, the classic social media toxicity. Yeah,
definitely. I think a lot of the videos that I'm talking about here are to do with the pandemic, are to do with COVID. Some of them have been put in about testing. Some, we show how to do the self-testing, or we have spoken about vaccines. So very mixed messages, of course, that we're getting, and some mixed reactions.
And one of the problems is that the government itself has put mixed messages over the course of this pandemic. And so I think the government has wasted its credibility, and now they're trying to almost collateralize the credibility of grassroots organizations like yourself. And yeah, you can only put out the information you're given, and it depends on the quality of the information, doesn't it, a lot of the time, with what the feedback you're going to get. So
yeah, definitely. I think, for example, when the vaccine program came, right, and they wanted people to get vaccinated, right? Very limited information came about it. It's like, just get vaccinated. Yet we had lots of information regarding the restrictions, but I've only received very limited information about the vaccine. So when we actually did receive a call and somebody was interested in the vaccines, and we only had little information to share.
Yeah.
And most of the time we had to go and make another couple of telephone calls before we found the right answer, or maybe didn't, as well. So yes, you're definitely right. And you know, that literally just added to what you just said there as well. It has been very, very difficult. Plus, we're there that we need to translate it. So it takes time as well to put these videos out, to put the materials out, and then for it to change, you know, the next day. It certainly wasn't easy. It's not
And are
easy.
you having to end up putting out videos where you end up contradicting what you said in a previous video?
Yes, so that definitely happened twice.
Mm. I've seen
Yeah,
other community groups in Bradford have the exact same thing happen to them and struggle with this exact same thing. Yeah, seems to be a common problem.
Or we had, you know, where we had cameras coming down to the office, where we schedule the time, the video was done, you know, edited about to come out, things have changed, it's not going to come out. So, yeah, I think again, you know, the pandemic has, I think, impacted, you know, everybody across the spectrum in so many different aspects.
Yeah, to be really honest with you, it's embarrassing how badly a job our government's done, and some of them should be fired. I think if any of us did as bad a job as some of they've done in what we work as, we would be fired, and I don't get why some of them haven't been with the appalling job they've done with this. A lot of people have died who shouldn't have, and it's a bit of a national shame, I think, a bit of a national tragedy.
Meanwhile, there's the people who are trying to pick up the pieces like you are not getting any of the help that they needed, and that, I mean, that's part of the problem, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it's been mentioned. Yeah, that problem is being mentioned. You know, you hear it in news. You hear organizations talking about it. You might hear that you know, okay, we don't have stats again regarding how many Roma people are vaccinated. Okay, well, we're a Roma organization. We've got the community here. You know, let's have a look into it. However, I think a lot of the local organizations have definitely made a massive effort, and as a whole, a lot of work's been put into it, and I think again from local organization, it's just been a really good response, and we are managing quite well. I mean, the COVID-19 helpline is actually funded by the Race and Equality team, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. We've got a really good relationship. They're managing it absolutely brilliantly. You know, we've got the communication, the material that we need from them, and we're able to do our work properly. And it's a credit to all. The COVID-19 helpline is absolutely fantastic. It really works. It really does work. You know, for people to be able to just ring up and ask any of these questions about the pandemic, you know, maybe they don't know if they can go to school, you know, can I go to work? And maybe they're without money, they don't know how to claim for the self-isolation payment. Maybe they didn't even know about it, and you know, and it was the first time they heard it on the telephone call. So it has been really valuable to have and to actually operate it. It's been really good.
That's great to hear. And I think, like you said before, about this sort of funding hierarchy of how the money comes down, maybe if organizations like the Race Equality Network, who have succeeded and have brought in a lot of other organizations, if they got more funding, they could expand it from just a helpline service to maybe paying you to do the research. Since you've got the connections, you speak the language, you can gather the information quite easily. Maybe they could expand it to that if they had the money so that they can pass on to you guys and you can hire the staff and put the time into it. And I think that would make a huge difference as well.
A lot of the means testing that the government claims to do doesn't end up actually working for this kind of thing. If they were really doing it, then they would have seen that Race Equality Network is doing a really good job.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's bang on. Yeah, that's bang on. I think, you know, the government, I think, agree what you said there, to Danny, about the government, because I mean, they say something, yet they're not doing it. You know, so you said, okay, look, we want to reach everybody with these vaccines, right? And on the TV, it's projected like all the vaccines have reached everybody, but we know it hasn't. We know as local organization it hasn't, and we're running around the clock to make sure that we're doing that. And what Joe said, if it would be organized properly and worked upon properly by the government, then yes, race equality would do a lot better, and we could do a lot better. I mean, with the little as we've done, look at the work that we've managed. I think we've done absolutely amazingly. So yes, we could have enhanced this on another level if we would have been organized properly. You can't just say it and let it go. You you actually have to control, the structure that you've put in, and we haven't seen that from the government. There's a lot of structure that they have put in, they just haven't taken any control. So again, I think, I appreciate from the UK government that of how much structure they have come in with the vaccines that they have bought and how much ahead they are of other countries. But it's also caused the problem because they're not managing it. They're not able to control everything that they put in out. And it's a shame, because as you can see with the little bit that we had, it worked. So yes, it would have certainly been and could have been a lot better. But to say the map's been produced, it looks like we're about to come out, and as organizations, I think, for probably most of us, we all feel, okay, this is the time. We've done the pandemic, we've done the work. I think we've learned quite a lot as organizations of how valuable we are for the communities. And I think we can now take this confidence and take this work that we've done and move with the economy and hopefully strive. And exactly what I'm saying, with these struggles, be able to kind of break through the barriers, be able to speak to the right people, be able to hopefully use the social media and everything else, and again, and strive as an organization. However, as much as I feel this confidence and this power, and I say this is the year, this is definitely where we are stepping up the level, we are expanding. We've got the Brexit process, and we are in the midst of it. This is what our communities, unfortunately, has to deal with it. We're 2 months away, and we're coming up to a very, very grey area. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll have to sit here and plan about the future as an organization and for the Roma community, the future in the United Kingdom, but it is very difficult at this point, even though other people, other communities, the wider community, can get on with it. Unfortunately, a lot of the European citizens have to undergo this, and the Roma have struggled during that process. And that grey area is just really, really massive. It's an absolutely major thing. What is going to happen after June? We really don't know. And I would love just for our Roma community to be part of this map, part of the plan, part of the community that's trying to, come out of the pandemic and get back into the economy as it should be. But are we going to be able to do that?
Yeah, and it's approaching fast, and with absolutely zero plan about what's going to happen as the deadline approaches. I mean, it's.
So we've got 6,000 people. Say, let's just give examples. Say 1,000 people in June will not have their settlement, and now they're not entitled to their universal credit, so their housing benefit stops. What are we going to do with 1,000 people that are going to become homeless? I don't know what's going to happen, because that's literally what kind of a time we're basically heading towards. We're talking about thousands of people being homeless, not be able to access NHS. Will these people be deported? How will the deportation look like? Yeah. During the deportation process, where will these people be put? I'm sure it won't be a 5-star hotel. There's so many questions and no answers.
And the pandemic hasn't gone away. Like you said, that thing of where they're going to be put, that is a major, major issue. If it's in, cramped spaces and the coronavirus is not completely gone and it gets in there, that could be a disaster. Yeah, and it's outrageous, really, that there's no clarity on this. And like Joe said, seemingly no planning, especially after Windrush. When all that went wrong, you think they'd be thinking ahead Doesn't seem like it. Seems like they're, I don't even know if it's the same mistake. It could be even worse, couldn't it, Liz? So yeah, it's
because
true,
you know,
yeah.
how many are going to slip through the net, right? I mean, exactly what can happen, and you know, carry on in the black market, you know, carry on living of the street life, and then what? In 20, 30 years, they might have children, and then you're going to come back and say, you know, you wasn't entitled all these years. We're going to deport you now as well. So yeah, exactly. This might be
Yeah, that's exactly what they've been doing with Windrush, isn't it? So
this could be a generational problem. This is a real, yeah, this is a real nightmare scenario.
Yet it potentially didn't have to be, you know, if they're okay, there could potentially be a grace period that they might allow. I don't know how that's going to help, if it's just going to be a couple of months, which I can't imagine it being any longer. You know, if it was planned properly and if it wasn't time, or if the pandemic was taken into consideration and actually given a proper extension of another year or so for people to be able to get settled or be able to return to their countries within that time, bring a process like this, right? So people have this choice now to be able to, okay, either I settle here or I return to my own country if I'm settling, or I've got another year to be able to take the process. And then, you know, we can look into the map of coming out of the pandemic and really do come out of the pandemic, hopefully, and be able to get, you know, vaccinated and be able to get employment and just get back to what the country was, and hopefully even better as the future lies. But seriously, we might not be able to do that. You know, after June, how long will it last? How long will this last?
yeah, it's not going to be quick, is it? If they're not going to let these people have settlement, then that's not a quick process. 1,000 people, potentially more, just in Bradford. That's
yeah, and the Roma communities all over the country, isn't it? Yeah. And you, Daniel, you mentioned the a 1-year extension there. That'd be nice. What else would you like to see in your ideal scenario so we can avoid some of the really horrific stuff that could happen that you've just talked about?
I think it's very difficult speaking to that it's in literally 2 months. I think, you know, a different process. I think the choice of returning to your country should have been already given there, and some money set to aside to help families to return to their countries if needed. Because if they wanted this process to happen, for people to do this online application with these certain documents, they should have expected that some people would have to take another process to be able to get the document. So I think we're too late. I don't think anything else can save it but a big extension. I'll be honest. And then if the extension is put there, then not just an extension to what's already existing, but actually taking into account all of these circumstances that we're talking about, people have undergone, and put in a structure, i.e. what I just, for example, mentioned, giving the people the choice and having some money fund for people to be able to return. Because, okay, say if you can't get the document, that means you can't even return back to your country, right? I don't mean that you can't just get settled here. That means you can't even go back to your country.
Stateless, that is, yeah, so, unbelievable.
But you're just going to be stuck, you know. So yes, you know, I appreciated that, you know, they've put this scheme out. I appreciated a couple of adverts, but again, everything was in English. Everything was limited. It was on radio. It was on, you know, in the English TV, and they just didn't take everything into consideration. I think putting this scheme out, it could have been a successful scheme. Guys, they're basically offering people a status in the United Kingdom. This is not a bad thing. It's just, again, as we mentioned, by the government, is not managed and organized well.
Was one of the problems with it that it was online, like you said, because the pandemic's highlighted in digital poverty. A lot of people don't have access to online. Has that been a problem would it be better if they had like phone lines and set up some offices where people could walk in and, you know, something like you're doing, I imagine, but, you know, actually scale that up so there's one of them in every city, or, you know, or maybe, you know, where people can walk in and then request it in person instead of having to go online, which they might not be able to get onto.
Yes, yeah, exactly that. You know, how to access the internet, you know, not having no access to internet or having a smart device, but then also being able to use online. So, okay, so they have access to internet. However, they might not be following any of the media that the UK follows. They follow Eastern European media, they might follow Asian media, and some of these platforms are nothing like, you know, what the UK would use. So then when we say come on Zoom, what Zoom? How do you use Zoom? Is totally different. You know, not understanding. Some of these platforms are new to me, right? I mean, coming into the pandemic, you know, I think I heard of Zoom probably once before the pandemic, right?
Yeah,
And
same.
Yeah, I don't think I even heard of it. Yeah.
I think exactly like what's going on here, but you know, now we're using it nearly on a daily basis. But that doesn't mean that everybody's using it. You know, again, people might have an access to internet, might have an access to a smartphone, but they may be following totally something different, maybe using totally some different platforms. So your message is nowhere near them. Won't be seen. Won't
Yeah.
be seen. And we've seen that. And we've seen that quite a lot. You know, I don't know if I mentioned it previously, but a lot of the Eastern European Roma community have Eastern European TV, so they're actually projecting, you know, European TV in their homes. So that means, you know, anything that the government said,
It's not good for it, yeah.
not being heard out.
I just want to point out as well that back in November, the All Parliamentary Committee for Gypsy, Roma and Traveller Issues, which is headed by Martin Doherty Hughes, the Member of Parliament for West Dunbartonshire, Scottish National Party, already pointed out literally everything we've already said about the issues facing Roma people for settled status back in November. And their recommendation was for further studies into the area. They've done absolutely nothing since then to try and increase it, despite multiple people contacting them, asking them for help one way or another, potentially in the form of an extension or more funding. And their only response has been that this is being looked at.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people who are supposed to be dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, Daniel, the obvious solution is an extension, and it's only fair if, as the all Parliament committee finds out, if everybody who's has the right to apply and the right to get status, if they actually applied, there's just not enough time to process them all. Surely the only fair thing to do is an extension. So I can't see why that hasn't been
already implemented.
Not even been attempted to be implemented, from what I can tell.
Yeah, and Joe, exactly what you said is exactly what we've been hearing. I mean, you know, this is the Home Office, and it's almost like they're on an automated. It's like an automated machine. Even though you're speaking to a person, they're repeating the same message. They're not giving any more or less information. You do the application at the end of June. If you don't do it, you're not entitled to. And if you ask him any more questions, there's no more answers. So, you know, regarding an extension or anything else, it's totally beyond that conversation. You won't even be able to start that conversation. Regarding the funding, you know, they pointed out to local council. When you speak to local councils, they already distributed the funding. As I mentioned, we've got 9 organizations around Bradford and Keighley that have been doing this for the past 2 years. Yet we have daily people ringing us without the EU settlement.
So yeah, we've ended up in this scenario where the Roma community is at real risk. Like you said, there's thousands of people in Bradford alone who are at risk of being deported, possibly, or losing a thing. And I'd like to get into, you know, if a Roma community is disintegrated and is deported, what would be losing? Because the Roma people are people with a long history and a rich culture. And could you tell us something about that culture? Like, you know, Roma music, for example, you know. I know there's a rich Roma history. Yeah. What are we going to lose if this happens and these people get thrown out of the country?
Yeah, well, we've actually just run a pilot with the virtual school, and we've presented what we like to call a cultural awareness presentation. So this is a presentation about the Roma people, and there is certain themes and points that we've put into the presentation. It's almost split into 3 parts, and we like to always project a point through during them parts that it makes sense at the end. And I think these points are very much significant. So, you know, we do mention of who Roma people are and where do they come from, and the fact that the language is so valuable, not only the fact that it represents them, as there is no other land or republic that they come, you know, that they come from, and is the language that represents, but also has linguistic evidence in there that's used to say that they originate in northern India, right? So we're looking at Roma people originated from northern India, leaving about the 1st to 2nd century AD, and starting to travel. And there's a little, like a poem that we've actually integrated into the presentation that says, an Egyptian king went to this Indian king and said that he would like to entertain the poor people on the street, so he would like some musicians to be sent across to him. And this is when the Indians sent apparently Roma people who then came there, and they was given the donkeys, they were given weed and some ox, and it was telling to live agriculturally. Wow. And basically entertain the poor people by playing music. And the story ends on that the Roma people came back with hunger, their cheeks followed in, and said that, you know, they've ate everything, and they gone now. And so the king got angry and basically told them to leave, and they carried on on the donkeys, hence why they came to Europe. So as you mentioned, you know, music is a Roma person called Daniel Belaz, who is a musician and a professor, and my father. He was interviewed, and he asked, "What's music for Roma people?" And he said, "Music is like bread." And so it's such a massive element of Roma culture. It's almost absolutely everything, as again, the language represents us, and then we use the language in our music, and that's where our culture lies. Roma, during the centuries of traveling in Asia and then coming into Europe, have never actually kept, you know, laws or traditions or records on paper. They never recorded or written anything. So it's very hard to understand the history and the origins, and actually goes on the DNA and the language evidence, what I've just talked about. But in the music, our culture's in there. Everything spoke about, the struggle, the discrimination, the racism, the hardship circumstances of our everyday life is in our music. So even though it's a folk genre, is very much something different. The music is definitely something different to what we normally hear. And we are very, very much excited, and was very excited for the pandemic hit, and hopefully everything with the Brexit will get sorted, that we're going to be able to share that, you know, during some festival. Maybe we can set up our own, or get, you know, part of the Bradford Festival and many others. Maybe we can share the Roma culture, maybe we can share the traditional clothes that are used in the music, and the dances, and what the music's about, because it really will share what our culture's about.
That's a lot that I didn't even know about. So you've got like these histories in the songs then?
Yeah, so the histories in the songs, and like an everyday life, and almost explains some of the culture, some of the elements, and yes, certainly the history. I'll give you an example. I think actually I've got, just a moment, this here. My family, they're called Chilagos. It's a traditional band. I don't know how much you guys can see that because of the background.
Lagos, yeah.
We can, yeah, but we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can certainly check them out on YouTube. I'll send you some links. I like to show that to people because they do play traditional gypsy songs that date back a long time ago and have the history. And they have been quite popular and been around the world. They've been performed in America, Atlanta. They've been performed in Florida, Ukraine, Russia. So they've been across and performed these songs. And I like to share this because it's got the Roma, Czech, and an English translation of the songs in there in the booklet. So I'll read you one. So this one's called Pregnant. This is an upbeat song. So this is the one where everybody's up and is dancing. And you know when you have an upbeat song and you've got good energy and everybody's dancing. Yeah. So imagine a beat like that. One day I'll play it for you guys properly. But this is the song. I have become pregnant in Lemmer City. I have become pregnant from a villain. I wouldn't have been heavily pregnant like that if I've gone up with him. So negativity's turned to positivity almost, right?
Yeah.
But the culture and the elements and the history certainly shines through these. Another one's called Trick. And my wife has cheated on me. She did right though, because she was young. I still love her. I still love her. This is an upbeat song. Yeah. Everybody's up. Everybody's dancing. There's a lot of energy. And you might, we heard teachers, social workers that have come to a house and thought there's somebody's birthday. It's somebody's birthday party because everybody was up. Mom, dad, the daughters were singing on top of the table. Mom and dad was dancing with them. If there was a birthday party, it wasn't just an everyday thing. The music was on and a good tune came on, and that everybody gets involved. So literally all your family, but it's definitely singing, definitely has music in the background, Roman music in the background, and definitely one of your family members, if not all, generally speaking, will play some sort of an instrument. So this is guitars, piano, keyboard, bass, drums. Is very much a trend in the Roman culture.
Do you have any traditional instruments as well that are specific?
Definitely, I would say guitar is definitely used and played from A-moll, they would say, or where it kind of originates from. And there is I was just going to say as well, then, also when these social workers come a lot of the times, or the teachers, they also mention that they see a lot of food. And I think that's another part of the culture, is food. And it really goes even beyond that. It's not just about, what we eat, or it's about sharing food. It's like I always say to kind of everybody, if you are going to visit a Roma friend, or you're a Roma and you're going to your auntie's house, or you're going to see your cousin or your Roma friend, if you were planning having a McDonald's, before going there, door, because you will have to, you will get fed, and you will have to eat. It will be forced upon you. And if you didn't eat it, you're probably not Roma. You're weird. What's wrong with you? Like, there was food you didn't eat. Yeah, but I just ate. But like,
there's more.
That's even
there's more.
better.
Yeah,
so you just ate, and now you're gonna eat more. Like, So it's like really integrated into that. And I think, some of this, there's some negative to that, but of course, we have children that kind of, have a cake before mum goes cook. So we've seen a lot of people just kind of, here, there's a cake, and I'm just gonna go cook your tea, type of thing, because food's just eaten kind of all day, at any time, at any point, and it really means a lot. Food and music means a lot.
What kind of foods do you have?
So there's some definitely different ones, but it's very basic ingredients, so you're about to have them at home. So we're talking very basic ingredients with basic food. But it's something that we like to call, what's famous is, or traditional almost, is halushki. So it's like how can I describe, almost like a slimy dough that you make, and then you kind of chop little bits into a boiling water to make like a pasta. Usually served with sauerkraut and crispy bacon. Absolutely beautiful.
Sounds
Very,
good.
very simple.
That sounds
Salt
very
and pepper,
good.
and it, job done. You can make it with cheese, and bacon, or experiment as you want. I also mentioned Goya, and I showed the process in the presentation, and I've got some very funny faces being put when I show it. But basically, it's almost like a sausage. So we're using intestines, but they're made, so the intestines literally come out. Your mom, or usually a special person in the family that comes and does it on a special occasion, and they've washed the intestines, and then it's usually stuffed with like a puree of mashed potato and some meat and some rice and stuff that's put in, and when it's grilled is absolutely gorgeous. Very, very different, very different to what we're used to around here. Very much the Eastern European kitchen is definitely integrated into that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love
sounds
about
good.
Bradford. Yeah, the different kinds of food you can get and try, and they mix together and create some interesting fusion. And it's all cheap and tasty, which is the best kind of food to me. So yeah, that sounds fantastic. That Roma
Are there any
food.
Roma restaurants in Bradford? Anywhere we can go buy some of this?
Yes, so there's one that opened just before the pandemic in a small place on top of town near the Oslo Market.
Oh yeah, I've walked past it, and that's exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And however, they've just got an extension approved by Bradford Council, and they're extending it where William Hill used to be, I think. So it's going to be quite a large restaurant. I think they're going to have over 100 seats with a bar, and you can definitely experience exactly what I'm talking about. The food and the music will be there, and I cannot wait for it to open. Cannot wait to support them guys, and I cannot wait when we can sit down, have a drink, and have some food there, boy. Joe, you're gonna have to come back no matter what happens then.
I'm going to come back just for this.
Yeah, there you go,
Yeah.
What's the name of it? Sorry, what's the name of the
They
restaurant?
call it salad.
Salaz, yeah, I've
Yeah.
walked exactly past it. Yeah, and I've seen it. Yeah, sounds fantastic. Yeah, that's what I love about Bradford. You mentioned the festival and the music. Fingers crossed, Bradford wins the City of Culture Bid 2025, and the Roma people, we see them there represented with the music and the food and all the other things that are part of your culture. That'd be fantastic.
And that's exactly that. I think Bradford culture should definitely be the city that should win it. I mean, we've got all the cultures here, and Roma are definitely part of it, and we would love to share, the culture and the traditions, and show off who Bradford is. So diverse, and you know what? Nowadays you meet people from different communities. They can speak all the lingo, man.
Yeah,
You see an Asian is speaking in Czech, a Czech speaking in Urdu, an English guy speaking in a bit of Roma. Bradford
we've got a
really
Rohingya friend who we did another interview with, Amin, who speaks Roma.
He speaks a bit of Roma, exactly like you said. Yeah, we're getting a real mix. Bradford is its own thing now. Yeah, in terms
Bradford
of culture,
is its own thing.
It's its own thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely shine as Bradfordians wherever we go. That's for sure. The city is becoming its own, and I think we're getting a lot of exposure. Since Tom, God bless him, the work that he did, Captain Tom Moore. He definitely exposed Keighley and Bradford.
Keighley boy, yeah.
He got the eyes on us, and we kind of carried on. And organizations like ourselves and Race Equality, CNET, and all these guys putting all the work, funding us guys and supporting us local organizations. I think we make some holler. I think I think this is the one. 2025 is ours, guys.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't see it. Once people see the culture, I can't see anywhere else in the UK beating this culture-wise. I can't see it. But we'll wait and see. Thanks so much for talking to us, Daniel. We'll speak to you again. It's been a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for letting me be a part and sharing kind of what we're up to. There's a lot going on, but not someone who's been negative, but we definitely always take the positives from there, and we're hoping that we can definitely pull some of this together and pull through. And part 3 will be about the festivals. I'll be sharing a date of when the festivals will be happening.
Oh, great! Yeah, Danny can go and have a record.
Yeah, I can go, Jen. I'll record some of it so you can watch. I'll be sending you pictures.
Joe, look how much fun we're having.
Yeah, I'll be sending you pictures of what I'm eating. Yeah.
Yeah.